The accusation came during Thanksgiving prep, right after my sister Jessica finished complaining about having to do all the work while I sat in my wheelchair. "Get up and help with dinner," Mom shouted from the kitchen, gesturing angrily at my wheelchair. "Everyone else is working while you just sit there." I remained silent while the familiar lecture began. Around the dining room sat the usual suspects. My parents, Jessica with her husband Mark, my brother Tom with his wife Linda, plus Aunt Carol who'd driven in specifically to join the intervention. "Sarah's problem," Dad added, carving the turkey with his characteristic authority, "is that she's given up on herself. Uses that wheelchair as an excuse to avoid responsibility." At 27, I'd been the family's disappointment for 3 years, ever since my car accident had left me paralyzed from the waist down. To them, I was just Sarah, the daughter who'd chosen self-pity over perseverance and used my condition to avoid contributing to family life. "The doctor said she could recover if she tried harder," Jessica said, setting the table around me. "But she's comfortable being helpless." "It's laziness, plain and simple," Tom agreed. "She sits in that chair all day instead of working on rehabilitation." What my family didn't know was that my laziness consisted of pioneering new spinal cord injury research at the National Institute of Neurological Research while developing breakthrough therapies for paralysis recovery. "Sarah used to be so ambitious," Aunt Carol said sadly. "Now she just makes excuses." My phone buzzed with a message from my research director. "Dr. Patterson, the Thanksgiving presentation is confirmed for 3 p.m. The family will be surprised by Dr. Martinez's findings." I checked the time. 2:45 p.m. "The thing is," Mom continued, "Sarah could walk if she really wanted to. She's choosing to stay in that wheelchair because it's easier than fighting." Actually, I couldn't walk because my spinal cord was completely severed at the L2 vertebra. But I had been fighting to develop treatments that could help millions of people with similar injuries. "Remember when Sarah was in medical school?" Dad said nostalgically. "She had such potential before the accident made her give up." The irony was perfect. I hadn't given up on medicine. I'd redirected my medical career towards spinal cord research and become one of the leading authorities on paralysis treatment. "She could at least try to be useful around the house," Jessica added, "instead of just sitting there feeling sorry for herself." My phone rang. "Dr. Rodriguez calling." "Excuse me," I said, wheeling toward the kitchen. "Sarah, I'm 5 minutes away. Are you ready for your family to learn about your research?" "Ready as I'll ever be, Dr. Rodriguez. They think I've given up on life. They're about to discover their lazy daughter has revolutionized spinal cord treatment." I returned to find the family discussing my lack of motivation while serving dinner. The physical therapist said Sarah stopped trying. Mom was explaining to Aunt Carol. "She went to a few appointments then quit." "That's not true, Mom. I completed 18 months of traditional physical therapy." "Then why are you still in that wheelchair?" Dad demanded. "Because traditional therapy doesn't regenerate severed spinal cords." Tom looked annoyed. "Sarah, other people with your injury learn to walk again. You're just not trying hard enough." Actually, no one with complete spinal cord transection at my level had ever walked again using traditional therapy. But I had been working on experimental treatments that showed promise. "The problem is attitude," Linda added. "Sarah's chosen to be a victim instead of a survivor." My victim attitude had led to developing 3 experimental treatments currently in clinical trials, but my family had never bothered to ask about my work. "What exactly do you do all day?" Jessica asked accusingly. "Besides sitting in that wheelchair?" "I work in medical research." "Research what?" Mark asked skeptically. "Spinal cord injury treatments." Dad laughed dismissively. "Sarah, reading about your condition online isn't research. I don't read about it. I conduct it." "Conduct what?" Mom asked. "Clinical trials for experimental spinal cord regeneration therapies." Complete silence around the table. "Sarah," Aunt Carol said gently, "it's good that you're interested in your condition, but you shouldn't confuse learning about treatments with actually developing them." My phone buzzed with another message. "Dr. Patterson, Dr. Martinez has arrived. Should we begin the presentation?" The doorbell rang. "I'll get it," I said, wheeling to the front door. Through the security monitor, I could see Dr. Elena Martinez, chief of spinal surgery at Johns Hopkins, standing at the door in her professional attire, holding a briefcase. I opened the door to find Dr. Martinez looking excited and proud. Sarah, congratulations on the FDA approval. Your research is going to change millions of lives. Thank you, Dr. Martinez. My family doesn't know about the research yet. They don't know you're leading the most promising spinal cord trials in medical history? They think I'm lazy and unmotivated. Dr. Martinez looked shocked. The Dr. Sarah Patterson who developed breakthrough nerve regeneration protocols is considered lazy? By my family, yes. I led Dr. Martinez into the dining room where my family sat in stunned silence at seeing a distinguished medical professional at their Thanksgiving dinner. Everyone, this is Dr. Elena Martinez, Chief of Spinal Surgery at Johns Hopkins. Dr. Martinez, this is my family. Dr. Martinez set her briefcase on the table with authority. What an honor to meet Dr. Patterson's family. Sarah has told me so much about you. Dad looked confused. Dr. Patterson? Dr. Sarah Patterson, Dr. Martinez confirmed, one of the most brilliant spinal cord researchers in the world. Sarah's a doctor? Mom asked weakly. Dr. Martinez opened her briefcase and pulled out medical journals and research papers. Dr. Patterson completed her medical degree and PhD in neuroscience while undergoing rehabilitation for her own spinal injury. Remarkable dedication. Jessica stared at the documents. Sarah has a PhD? In neuroscience, specializing in spinal cord regeneration. Her research has revolutionized how we approach paralysis treatment. Tom looked at the medical journals spread across the table. These have Sarah's name on them? As lead researcher and primary author. Dr. Patterson's work on nerve regeneration therapy has been published in the New England Journal of Medicine, Nature Neuroscience, and The Lancet. Dr. Martinez pulled out more documents. Most remarkably, Dr. Patterson has been testing her experimental treatments on herself throughout the research process. Testing treatments on herself? Aunt Carol asked. Dr. Patterson is the first patient enrolled in her own clinical trials for spinal cord regeneration therapy. She's been documenting her own recovery while developing treatments for millions of other patients. Dad looked shocked. Recovery? Sarah, you said you couldn't walk. Dr. Martinez smiled. That's actually why I'm here today. Dr. Patterson, would you like to show them the latest results? I reached into my medical bag and pulled out my tablet, displaying brain and spinal cord scans from the past year. These images show nerve regeneration in my spinal cord over 12 months of experimental therapy. The scans clearly showed new neural pathways growing across my injury site. The treatment protocols I developed have successfully regenerated 34% of my severed spinal nerves. Mom stared at the images. Sarah, what does this mean? Dr. Martinez answered proudly. It means Dr. Patterson has achieved something medical science thought impossible. Actual spinal cord regeneration in complete injury cases. I stood up from my wheelchair. The room erupted in gasps and shocked silence. The FDA approved my treatment protocols yesterday, I said, taking careful steps across the room. We're beginning nationwide clinical trials next month. Jessica was crying. Sarah, you can walk? I'm relearning to walk using treatments I developed while you thought I was being lazy. Dr. Martinez pulled out official FDA documentation. Dr. Patterson's research represents the first successful reversal of complete spinal cord injury in medical history. Furthermore, she continued, Dr. Patterson has established the Patterson Foundation for Spinal Cord Research with a $50 million endowment to fund treatment development. Dad looked stunned. $50 million? Sarah, where did that money come from? Patent licensing for my medical discoveries, research grants, and consulting fees from pharmaceutical companies implementing my protocols. Dr. Martinez displayed newspaper clippings. Dr. Patterson was featured on the cover of Time magazine as Medical Researcher of the Year. Her work is being implemented in hospitals worldwide. Tom was staring at the magazine covers with obvious shock. Sarah, you're famous in medicine? I'm successful in spinal cord research. But to my family, I'm just lazy and unmotivated. Dr. Martinez looked around the room with obvious disapproval. Dr. Patterson's dedication while managing her own recovery has been extraordinary. She's continued breakthrough research while relearning basic motor functions. The family's reaction was immediate shame mixed with bewilderment about my hidden achievements. Within hours, they learned their lazy daughter had revolutionized paralysis treatment while they accused her of giving up. "Sarah," Mom said tearfully, "we had no idea you were working on medical research. We thought you'd given up." "I never gave up, Mom. I redirected my goals toward something meaningful." Dad looked embarrassed. "Sarah, why didn't you tell us about your research?" "Because you spent 3 years calling me lazy without ever asking what I was actually doing with my life." Dr. Martinez packed her documents. "Dr. Patterson, the medical community is eager to implement your protocols. Your research will help millions of patients." 6 months later, my treatment became standard care at major medical centers worldwide. The Patterson protocol for spinal cord regeneration helped thousands of paralyzed patients regain mobility. The family attended the Nobel Prize ceremony where I received recognition for breakthrough medical research. But their pride felt hollow, based on external validation rather than understanding of my struggle. Jessica tried to apologize. "Sarah, we're so sorry we didn't understand what you were going through." "You didn't want to understand. It was easier to assume I'd given up than to learn what I was actually fighting for." My foundation continued funding spinal cord research while I worked to improve my own recovery. Walking became easier as my protocols succeeded. But the family relationships remained strained. Their respect was based on awards and recognition rather than appreciation for the determination they dismissed as laziness. A year later, Tom called when his friend suffered a spinal injury. "Sarah, could you help? He's lost hope after his accident." "I can help him medically. But I can't help him with family members who assume paralysis means giving up." The family that called my research laziness learned too late that their assumptions had been about the person developing cures for the condition they dismissed. Sometimes breakthrough medical discoveries come from the very struggles that families choose to minimize. Sometimes the person they call lazy is actually working harder than anyone else in the room. The wheelchair they used as evidence of my giving up became the platform from which I revolutionized medicine.